Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, Senior Editor with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another Fantasy Life Championship live stream. I am joined by Howard Bender once again to go over this live stream here, to go over this draft, Fantasy Life Championship draft for a chance to win $500,000. Howard, thanks so much for coming on. Always enjoy talking with you every Wednesday night. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, these shows have not only have these shows been fun, but these shows have definitely helped me when you're talking about draft strategy and what the rest of the world is doing, right? Because we do so many best ball drafts over and over again. And all the Beat Bender drafts that I've been doing are all best ball. So getting to sit here every Wednesday night and dissecting a fantasy championship draft, which is the real deal, well, let's do it.
It is the real deal. Chance to win $500,000. You can get in one of these drafts. Go to RTSports.com. You want to take advantage of Howard Bender's promo. Tell everybody how they can do that. You can get a 50% price match up to $500 if you're first-time depositor. So, Howard, let everybody know how they can do that.
It's very, very simple. You just go to rtsports.com/Bender, and you'll see a deposit button where you'll get your 50% match up to $500. And then you'll even get like your draft against me. And you'll see some times for some of the Beat Bender best ball tournament drafts. So, but yeah, I mean, like that's the key though, right? I mean, if you throw in like $500 into your, or $600, throw $600 into your account, get $300 bonus dollars. And that's 3 entries right there into the fantasy championships. And then an extra $50 to play pick'em.
Might as well. Free money. I mean, it's just you can get in 2 leagues for sure. And we still have our fantasy, our championship reward program going on right now, our June loyalty reward program too. Take advantage of that. June is almost up. So we're giving you money for signing up for these fantasy life championships or the best ball championship. Just click on your account. You can see everything on there with the June loyalty reward program. Again, take advantage of that. It's just for signing up for one of these fantasy life championship drafts. You can get money into your account to play pick'em or daily fantasy as well. So definitely want to do that during the month of June. And it's almost up. And then June's up. Then it's July, Howard, and training camp starts to open. Kind of crazy to think about that, but it is almost here. So we should get some questions answered at that point. We'll maybe dive into that a little more as this draft gets going here. But it has already started, Howard. Let's bring up the board. Let everybody see what it looks like at this point. So the board right there, if you want to follow along on your computer, if you're at home or on your phone and you want to just have a different tab up, it's rtsports.com/live. You can pull that up and see the draft board on there, but there it is for you. I will read the participants in order. Always my favorite part because I screw up the names every week. I got Mongoose first, then Weeping Willow, Chris's Commodores is third, then Roach Motel, Auto Pens, Running Rebels, Puber Gooding, Distant First, Suncoast, Dippity Bop, Donkey, and Space Race. So those are the drafters in this one.
Can I just take a moment here to thank Brent Campbell for Puber Gooding Jr.?
I'm assuming it's Junior.
It has to be, but I mean, that is just Brent. Thank you very much. That starts the show off on the right foot.
For sure. And we were talking about this before we came on, Howard. There's several of these drafters have been in other previous Fantasy Life Championship live streams during these that we've done these past Wednesdays. So it's good to see some of these guys back, but we have some new drafters as well. And much of the same, though, as you look at this draft board: Jamar Chase, Bijan, Barkley, Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Genty, and Malik Nabers, and then Christian McCaffrey. So, again, nothing too out of the ordinary at this point in the draft. Any comments at all about the first round, Howard? Nothing too exciting.
I mean, we know that the names are going to stay the same. It's, what's the commentary that we've got? I got to tell you, man, I'm getting a little bit more bullish on Malik Nabers.
Okay.
Because, I don't know if you heard the comments. Russell Wilson's already said that, like, one of the main reasons he signed with the Giants was not just because they were the only team interested in him, but actually because he gets to throw to Malik Nabers. And I'll tell you what, with Neighbors on one side, Darius Slayton on the other, Russell Wilson likes to throw that like moonshot. And even if Russell Wilson does kind of fail at this, you're going to bring in Jameis Winston. And that's complete huck-it-chuck-it football until you switch over to Jackson Dart towards the tail end of the season. But like the volume that Neighbors is going to see again, really just kind of, I might even tell you that I would have him over Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Wow.
Gooding Jr. is still the best name, but I might take Malik Nabers over Amon-Ra.
And kind of the similar type player, Brian Thomas. We were talking about him the other day here at work, and I know some people are kind of concerned with Travis Hunter being there now, but I think that actually could help him, and I think they're definitely different type of receivers. Hunter's going to be more that big play threat, so kind of like Neighbors, I think Thomas could be really a target monster as well. Do you feel the same way about Thomas as you do Neighbors at all?
I mean, I think Neighbors is like the only game in town kind of a situation there. I like Brian Thomas. What I need, what I think is going to be interesting to see is what Liam Cohen does with him, because when he came back and he was like, listen, Brian Thomas was some of my favorite moments of Brian Thomas last year was him working his way out of the slot. And while, yes, that's great, that wasn't his primary function. And so he was a little bit more of an outside receiver. So, if you've got Travis Hunter, who is definitely an outside receiver, right? And then you've got De'Ami Brown, who's also an outside receiver, you're going to see more work out of the slot for Brian Thomas. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be a terrible thing. It's just going to be something that's going to be a little bit new for him. It's just going to be, to see what his route tree kind of looks like.
I also wanted to mention before we get too deep into this one, we have another Fantasy Life Championship draft that is almost full. It's 10 p.m. Central Time start, so it's coming up soon. There's like 4 spots left. So if you want to get in to that draft, go ahead and do that now, and you can draft tonight as well. You can watch this stream with Howard and I, see how it goes down with a lot of these picks, and then pick your own team as well. Just go to rtsports.com. If you're new to the site, as Howard mentioned, take advantage of his promo, rtsports.com/Bender, and then you can get that free deposit match there. But again, there's another draft going off tonight in a little bit. It's almost full, and we expect it to fill. So definitely want to get into that if you want to get in the league tonight. And also, as always, in the comments section, we have a few comments already. But if you have any questions about anything, if you have any questions about the season coming up, about this draft, if you want to talk about this draft, anything intriguing to you, feel free to mention that there in the comments section, and Howard and I will be sure to keep an eye on that throughout this live stream. So Howard's second round goes Nacua, A-Chain. Again, it's every draft, Howard. Derrick Henry, A-Chain. That's the combo. Again, I think that's 3 straight weeks that's happened. And you have Josh Jacobs, Nico Collins, Brock Bowers, Drake London, Breece Hall, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Brown. Josh Jacobs, that might be pretty high that I've seen him go in drafts. Is that a little sooner than normal for him?
No, I mean, I kind of feel like that's a similar range where we're seeing him. He's definitely it's funny that Josh Jacobs has definitely leapfrogged over guys like JT and Breece Hall and even Kyron Williams, who we just saw go to Weeping Willow. Yeah, man, it's so funny. The Henry A-Chan tandem is it's very popular here. It's very popular. Yeah. I gotta tell you, man, look at this. Oh man, Malik Nabers, Nico Collins, that's gonna be pretty spicy, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
How about the little Eagle stack brewing over on Chris's Komodos there, huh? Barkley and Brown.
Yeah, there you go. Loading up on the Eagles. The Brock Bowers, I just feel like the more I see him picked where he's getting picked, he's going to be the ultimate either league winner or league loser, in my opinion. I just feel like really high draft capital, and he could end up disappointing, maybe not, repeating that huge season. I just think he could end up being the ultimate boomer bust pick at that spot. I'm worried about taking him there. Are you?
I'm definitely worried about taking Brock Bowers in the second round. I was preaching against Sam Laporta in the second round last year. Now, I know Brock Bowers is not Sam Laporta, and it's a different, and it was a different offensive scheme last year, but it's a different offensive scheme this year too. And, listen, Chip Kelly, he does like a run first scheme. he does like having, I mean, Ashton Genty is going to be a huge part of this offense. I'm not saying Brock Bowers isn't going to be, but, you know, I think people look at like Geno Smith's passing attempts last year and think that that's just the way it's going to be with him again here in Las Vegas. And that's not the case. I mean, Ryan Grubb's offense is significantly different from Chip Kelly's offense. Grubb doesn't, I mean, he understood that he had to run the football, but he was much more into the passing aspect of it there. So I do just kind of worry that Brock Bowers, is not going to, I have a hard time seeing him return that second round value, much in the way that Laporta did last year.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel the same way as you, Howard. I don't think I have any stock of him at this point. It's kind of funny. I was looking at my shares of players, which is always fun to do. And my number one share right now is Colston Loveland, of all people. But I guess I have a love affair with Loveland there at this point. So we'll see if that holds true going forward. But that's my number one pick at this point. So as you can see, I'm kind of waiting on the tight end.
My number one is still Cedric Tillman.
Oh, there you go. I like that, though. I mean, especially if you're in a best ball league, you're looking at a guy who could, he's big play type receiver, and he's going to start in that offense. They could be losing at times throughout the year because they're not going to be very good. So I like that. I kind of like the Dyami Brown. You mentioned him earlier. It's kind of in the same ilk, in my opinion. I like taking a chance on him just because I think he's going to be a decent part of that offense. I don't see Hunter, playing. He's not going to be your typical number two receiver. So I think Dyami Brown's another good dart throw, especially in a best ball league.
I'm with you on that one for sure. I think there's a lot of things with the Jags that are, still kind of, I'm not saying unsettled, but we really need to, we know what Liam Cohen wants to do, right? You saw the blueprint in Tampa Bay last year. So now it's a question of where's the correlation. Is Brian Thomas Mike Evans, or is he Chris Godwin? Right, we already know that Dyami Brown is the deep field stretcher. Mm-hmm. Right, we already know that. I mean, what did they say? He was praising Brenton Strange on his blocking abilities, which means that he could be the next sweet baby Cade Otton.
Never want to hear that. Never want to hear that from a fancy owner. Never wants to hear the blocking talk with the tight end. Not good.
Oh, this wide receiver, he plays a 95% snap share. Yeah, his name is Adonai Mitchell, and he's a great blocker downfield.
For sure. So third round starts Chase Brown, James Cook, Trey McBride, Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson, Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, and T. Higgins. So we talked about Bowers. So how about McBride? Third round, this is about where he goes. Would you rather have that than Bowers in the second, or you just neither?
I would much rather have, and it was really tough for me to not rank Trey McBride ahead of Brock Bowers. I still put Brock Bowers first, but here's the thing with Trey McBride: same system, same scheme, same quarterback. The only difference here is that they're trying to get Kyler Murray to work through his progressions better. They're trying to get him because what he's been doing is he looks downfield. He doesn't see his primary target, available. So he scrambles around for a little while and then he'll dump it off to Trey McBride. Right? They're trying to get him to go through his progressions a little bit better. And maybe we don't see as many videos of, Marvin Harrison Jr. like standing there waving his arms like this, trying to, get somebody's attention. So, but I think Trey McBride, I would much rather, I would personally rather lean on McBride knowing that he's in the very same system that he's been in, as opposed to wondering what's going to happen with Bowers. Because if I tell you what, if I hear one more nice thing about Michael Mayer, I'm going to lose my mind.
I'm not buying any of that, but I guess you never know. The McBride thing too, though, was the lack of scores. I mean, you just look at that, and right. He still had a huge season. He scored 2 touchdowns, which is just crazy to me. He's a tight end. Usually tight ends get looks in the red zone. I just think that's an abnormality. I don't think that's going to be the norm. I definitely think he's going to, have 7 or 8 touchdowns this year. So I think I wouldn't get too worried about that. We have somebody asking about Adams' effect on Nacua. Do you think there's going to be an Adams effect on Nacua at all? Devontae Adams is going to take some targets away from him there in Los Angeles.
I mean, I do think that there's going to be some give and take each week. I still think Nacua is the number one.
Mm-hmm.
But Davante Adams, I mean, this is, the reason it's tough to gauge is because when Cooper Kupp was there were games where both of them had 12, 13 targets. There were games where Cooper Kupp absolutely disappeared. Was he fully healthy? We don't know. Davante Adams coming in there, I mean, he's a bona fide threat. And, and he and Nacua, I think, are going to be a fantastic. I think they're going to be like a 1A and a 1B. And some weeks you're going to see, 15, 16 targets go Nakua's way and maybe 8 to 10 targets go to Davante Adams. The week after that, it could just be a complete reverse split on there. So I think they're going to stay pass heavy. That's what Sean McVay likes to do anyway. But yeah, I think that you're going to, instead of banking on 15 targets a game for Puka Nacua, like we're used to, you might have to kind of pull back a little bit and just kind of assume that there's going to be some weeks where he's just going to see maybe 6 to 8 targets.
Yeah, I kind of have the same feeling about Nacua there with Adams there. I think it's going to be a situation where he could end up getting fewer targets on a weekly basis than he's used to. But we've seen it in the past. Good offenses with 2 really good receivers can definitely support them and still produce really big fantasy seasons. So I still think Nacua is going to have a really good year. And I wouldn't get too concerned about Adams being there, but I could see it being a bit of a factor. And that team that took Nacua, Howard, 4 straight receivers: Brian Thomas, Nacua, Tyreek Hill, and Terry McLaurin. So you do have 2 flex spots, so you can use the receivers. What do you think of that build over there at the end of the draft?
I mean, I think it's fine as long as he's going to throw some focus onto the running back position, but it is getting a little thin there right now. Yep. One of the things that I like about, what I'm seeing so far in drafts from the running backs is that I'm still seeing guys like Kamara, Kenneth Walker. Like, I'm not afraid to take 2 wide receivers with my first 2 picks because I know I can get Kamara, Walker, Chuba Hubbard over there in the 4th round. Like, that's the spot. But now you're talking about, like, he's got to wait for everything to come back from the 5th round. I don't know what's going to be available there in the backfield. That could be a little bit problematic. A little bit, but,
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some guys that he's probably targeting and that he thinks could get a pretty good share, but they all carry risk. But if I were him, I'd kind of load up on more than one of those guys, try to get, maybe 3 or 4, in the next few rounds, just to make sure that at least 2 of them hit, because I think it's vital if you want to advance in this championship to have 2 solid backs. So yeah, definitely something that I would focus on. So you look at the 4th round here, started Terry McLaurin, Chuba Hubbard, Davante Adams, Jaden Daniels, Mike Evans, Joe Mixon, Marvin Harrison. So Mixon, another guy I think that people might be a little concerned about with Nick Chubb there now, and he's been battling the injury in the offseason. What's your thoughts on Mixon? Do you have any concerns for him, or do you think that's still a pretty solid number 2 back?
You know what? I am a little nervous about Mixon. I think Mixon's incredibly talented. I like him a lot. They do have a fullback that, or they'll run some 2 tight end sets for sure. The problem is that he's dealing with an ankle issue right now. They don't know when he's going to report to training camp. So that, right, remember last year, Joe Mixon, I think he had like a sprained ankle. He was only supposed to miss 2 to 3 weeks, and he missed like four games.
Yep.
Right in the middle of it. So you bring in Nick Chubb. You still have Dameon Pierce. You drafted Woody Marks. Dario Gumbawale is still there. I'm not saying that these guys are world beaters, but it looks to me like they are kind of beefing up to do some heavy running. And maybe that does mean they kind of split the workload a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely looks like they're trying to at least get some insurance, or maybe at least, lessen the load for Mixon a little bit, since he's getting a little older. He has a lot of carries under his belt. I know he's still only, what is he, 28? He's still fairly young.
Yeah. He's not old. I mean, there's tread lost on the tires. Yeah. That's for sure. He's definitely run hard.
But. Yep. So some of these builds so far, Howard, we have one team with 3 running backs, but nothing like too crazy, except for that one team on the Space Race team had 4 receivers. But Some pretty standard builds here. The Weeping Willow team has Bijan, Kyron Williams, James Cook went really running back heavy there. Another team, Suncoast, he went Malik Nabers, Nico Collins, Jackson Smith, Najigba, and Jaden Daniels. So he still doesn't have a running back. So there's two teams that don't have a running back at this point. See, I just can't do that. I'm maybe that's my old school of fantasy thinking there, but man, I need to at least have a number one back I can count on in the third or fourth round. I don't think I can leave drafts without that personally.
You know what? And I'm with you, man. I'm definitely a running back guy. I always favor it. I will say this though about Suncoast build as opposed to Space Race. Suncoast is still getting 1,000 yards rushing on the ground with Jaden Daniels. They're not going to, he's not going to stop. They're not going to change his ways. They're not going to stop him from doing that. So maybe, you're getting some groundwork here with Jaden Daniels. Maybe that's, kind of like the trade-off. You're taking that early quarterback who has the rushing upside, and maybe that softens the blow a little bit. But Space Race doesn't have anybody. And, all of a sudden we're seeing the rookies come off the board. Judkins is gone. Hampton's gone. RJ Harvey is gone. So now it's really, I don't know, man. Do you have access to the draft room? Can we see who the best player available is?
I actually think we can display best available.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. You can sort by, I guess DeAndre Swift is up there.
Oh, it's like a little draft board settings here.
Yeah, there's a little wheel right here, and you can
come on it, baby. Look, last week it was the shares counter for my players. now this.
I should probably.
Kidding me?
The only thing it does, it kind of cuts off the end of the draft board here, but it would be nice to see this.
I see. Sorry, Jeff. I guess my monitor's a little bigger than yours because I see it all.
Got that fancy computer over there. I don't have that. So of these rookie running backs just went, you got Judkins, Amir and Hampton, RJ Harvey. Who do you like? Travion Henderson, we can throw that into the mix too. They all went in the last 10 picks here. Who do you like out of that group?
Out of that group, RJ Harvey's my favorite. He is. Judkins is going to be sharing the workload. We don't know what's going on in Cleveland. Amari and Hampton's going to have Najee Harris to deal with. And while, yes, J.K. Dobbins did sign with Denver, we already knew that it was going to be a shared backfield. And just, again, it's the pass catching for a Joe Lombardi running back room. I actually went back and got the actual numbers here. Joe Lombardi's running back room has finished in the top 5 for running back receptions for the last 18 straight seasons.
Wow.
18. He likes to throw to the running backs.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point to make. And Quinshon Judkins, too. I like him, but Browns don't like to run the ball that much either. Stefanski likes to air it out. I know they've had to play from behind at times. They had Flacco, at times last couple of years, so he likes to air it out too, but still they throw the ball a lot. I do like Judkins. I think he definitely is intriguing to me, though. I put him with Harvey as the guys I trust the most out of those backs that we just mentioned. Travion Henderson's intriguing as well, but I don't know if I trust that offense running the ball. They just haven't had a solid fantasy back, and it seems like forever in New England. Maybe
they're always waiting for who's the next James White. Who's going to be the next James White? Is it Travion Henderson? No. I'm with you. I rank him Harvey, and then Quinshon Judkins is my second choice out of that. I do like James Conner. You can't undersell James Conner, who has been one of the strongest. He's actually been one of the stronger pass catching backs as well. So
it's true. It gets overlooked with him at times.
It does. Look at that build there for Roach Motel. Gibbs, Taylor, Judkins, Conner, and you splash in a little Josh Allen.
Wow. Yeah, not bad. I love the Gibbs and Taylor combo there at running back. Those could be my two favorite running backs ahead of Henry and A-Chain.
I was just going to say, how dare you be the tandem of A-Chain?
How about Xavier Worthy at the start of round 5? I like him. I think he's talented, but the number 2 receiver in that offense, I just don't know how big he's going to be on a weekly basis. I have some concerns with him. I'd much rather have someone like Sutton than him, who went 6 picks later, it looks like.
Sutton, who, ex receiver in the Joe Lombardi system, just it's a target funnel over to him. And that's what I love about Sutton as well. We're never around here for the late round. So I'm just going to say it. I also with Sutton, last year of his contract, right? Does he possibly get traded away? And does that put Pat Bryant into a better situation? We know that Sean Payton was talking about how Pat Bryant reminds him of a young Michael Thomas.
Always like to hear that. Yeah. And I kind of been taking some shares of Marvin Mims at times late in best ball drafts. Again, that could be a guy that is not going to be very consistent, but a best ball draft, get him in around 14 or 15, whatever he's been going in. I'm good with that. Another guy that's kind of intriguing to me.
But you did ask about Worthy. I actually didn't want to skip over that. What I like about Worthy. So here was the thing that was funny to hear last year. When Marquise Brown came back from injury, Andy Reid and Matt Nagy both said, now we get to use Xavier Worthy as we originally intended, right? Because they had the plan there of utilizing Xavier Worthy as like the low A-dot guy who picks up the yards after the catch, i.e. Tyreek Hill, right? They wanted to utilize his speed much in the way that they utilized Tyreek's back in the day. Yes, you'll get the field stretching, but, throw a 6-yard pass to him and hope that he picks up an extra 6 or 7 yards each time. I think that's definitely what they're going to be looking for Worthy. I think Worthy in a PPR format, like it gives him, that added value, right? If he can get 8 targets a game, at some point he's going to start breaking some really long catches.
So I think our first surprise of the draft just happened, Howard. Space race there at the end. He took another receiver, and then he took Jadon Blue in the 6th round as his number 1 back. Interesting.
Yeah, I think Blue has this backfield to himself by the year end.
Okay.
I don't love Javonte Williams, and I don't even think Dallas really loves Javonte Williams. I think they drafted Jadon Blue, and then they added Phil Maffa a little bit later. And I think that's kind of where they were looking at, like Jadon Blue being a guy who can catch passes. He can take it between the tackles. Maffa can be like that short yardage guy, maybe poaching some goal line work, but they did sign Javonte Williams. And so I think what you're going to end up seeing is you'll see the shared role with Javonte being probably the lead back to start while they got Jadon Blue ready a little bit more. So I think by season end, he'll be seeing more snaps, more touches, but I do not feel good walking into any draft with Jadon Blue being my number 1 running back right now.
Yeah. I agree with you there. Resetting for everybody here. You're watching the Fantasy Live Championship live stream here. I'm with Howard Bender. I'm Jeff Paur of RealTime Fantasy Sports. Howard Bender has joined me once again for the stream. You can get in any of these Fantasy Live Championship drafts. Just go to RTSports.com, click on that Money League link. You can see all the different drafts we have to offer as well. Though this Fantasy Championship one, the Live Championship, gives away $500,000 grand prize. Howard, I feel like a lot of the picks in round 5 and round 6, we're going to have a better idea about their standing once camp opens and games start in the preseason. So I think some of them, you're going to see their stocks go up. So you have guys like Tet McMillan, Caleb Johnson, DeAndre Swift, even Travion Henderson. We mentioned Jadon Blue. Of any of those guys, you see some of those players possibly seeing their stock go up after training camp opens. I feel like McMillan's one guy that stands out to me. I think he could start to gain a lot more volume, a lot more, I guess, steam in drafts as the season gets closer. But do any of those guys stand out to you at all that you think we could see them, jumping up in the rankings a little bit?
I don't want to push him up in the rankings yet, but I think Tet McMillan, I still think he sees like a 25% target share. I really do. Like that's why I like the McMillan Ridley pairing, because those are two wide receiver ones in their system, right? Calvin Ridley's going to see lead targets from Cam Ward. Granted, I don't know what the quality of those targets are going to be, but the opportunity is definitely there. He's the number one. So is Tet McMillan, right? I mean, Adam Thielen's the security blanket who kind of sits behind, and, they're kind of pushing Jalen Coker and Xavier Leggett kind of, off to the side. So, I mean, I like those guys. I think there's higher upside for McMillan and Ridley than I do for, like, I love Zay Flowers, but is that offense really going to see him kind of take off? I don't know.
What's your most intriguing training camp position battle from a fantasy perspective? Anyone stand out? The Cowboys backfield, even Pittsburgh, you could throw into the mix there. Is there any position battle you're really anxious to see this upcoming training camp?
I think the Jaguars backfield is going to be extremely interesting to see what happens. And we look at the ADP numbers for Travis Etienne, for Tank Bigsby, for Bayshaw Tootin, and none of them are going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Yep. So
the question really is, who do they like the most, right? I mean, because what we saw with Liam Cohen last year was, he had that split backfield. He let Rachaad White lead the way, at least to start, but understood that Rachaad White was completely inefficient, and it made more sense to let Bucky Irving just take over as the lead back. So I guess the question is, who's going to be the more efficient back for these guys coming out of camp? And I think everybody's going to get a shot, but it's going to be a matter of like, who's going to be the efficient guy? Who's going to be the reliable guy? And, I was talking to my buddy Andrew Cooper on Sirius XM the other day. And I mean, he was kind of leaning in on Tank Bigsby being that, short yardage guy, between the tackles guy, more efficient runner than Travis Etienne was. Bayshaw Tootin's a rookie and he's got the speed. So it's like, which guy out of that trio is going to stand out? Because when you look at it, what Liam Cohen likes to do, he likes to go with the one running back. So whoever does win that job, I think is going to be a very undervalued asset here in drafts.
Yeah, I agree with that aspect for sure. Whoever wins, it's definitely going to have some value. What worries me about Bigsby out of the trio is just his lack of success in the passing game. And we know Cohen likes to utilize the running backs in the passing game. That's the only thing that's really holding me back from him right now. I still think Etienne might be in the lead, but I'm anxious to see what he looks like in camp. He hasn't been very explosive the last couple of years, and so I think he's going to have to, really show some different aspects of his game if he hopes to run away with that job in Jacksonville. So 6th round ended up going Jadon Blue, Calvin Ridley, Devonta Smith, Aaron Jones, Zay Flowers, Tony Pollard, Isaiah Pacheco, DK Metcalf, Jameson Williams, George Pickens, Chris Olave, and Travis Hunter. So I like the DK Metcalf in round 6 pick, just with Aaron Rodgers there now. Yeah. I think he's just going to rack up the targets there. He had a couple veteran receivers in the mix there too, with George Pickens and Chris Olave now. What do you think about those 5 receivers that were picked at the end? Which one stands out to you?
I mean, I would have taken DK Metcalf before I took Judy, Ridley, Devonta Smith.
Okay.
Probably Zay Flowers too. I probably would have taken him ahead of Tet McMillan. Just, for that sake. He is the number one, and it is Aaron Rodgers throwing to him. So I love that pick. I think that's fantastic. I'll give a nod to Roach Motel on the Jameson Williams pick, because he was like, maybe I should take a receiver here at some point or another. But, listen, I think the Pickens pick in round 6 is going to be, probably provide you with the biggest return out of those last 4 guys: Williams, Pickens, Olave, and Hunter. Metcalf is number 1 there. But I mean, listen, I hate the Cowboys. I hate Cowboys fans. CeeDee Lamb is the guy driving the bus, but George Pickens is going to have himself a substantial share of targets. He's going to see a lot of downfield work. I definitely have high hopes for Pickens as long as he goes in there with the right attitude, as long as he's not thinking that he's, king of the hill and he should be the number one over CeeDee Lamb. If he understands what his place is in this offense, I would say George Pickens to the moon.
I mean, we just talked about the running back situation a little bit, but they could throw the ball 600 plus times with the way their running back situation is set up in Dallas. So I think there's going to be plenty of targets to go around. I think Pickens could have a big season also. It's intriguing, though. Two of these teams, you mentioned Jameson Williams was the first receiver for Roach Motel. Weeping Willow, he did not have a receiver as well until round 6. He took Chris Olave. So you see the exact polar opposite of the Space Race team. These two teams really waited on receiver, took Williams and Olave. Olave's intriguing a little bit, but, man, that QB situation scares the hell out of me. I like Olave. I think he's a talented player, but he has the concussion issues and the quarterback issues. I just think that's a risky pick to make it as your number one receiver.
I can't argue against that at all. How many hospital balls do you think Tyler Shugg or Spencer Rattler are gonna chuck out there? I mean, he's one more concussion away from like retirement.
Yeah. Oof. So round 7 starts Patrick Mahomes, Sam Laporta, Rome Odunze, Brian Robinson, Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuels, Juwan Jennings, Tyron Tracy, Evan Ingram, Javonte Williams, Baker Mayfield. See, I would have liked to have seen the Space Race team get Williams as well, just to have that combo there to make sure you have at least the possible lead back there. But he couldn't get him. He took Tootin, so maybe he's listening to the stream a little bit. And he took the back he thinks is going to be the number one there in Jacksonville. He took Tootin there. So 2 rookie backs for the Space Race team.
Definitely playing. He's playing for the tail end of the season, right? I mean, coaches like to go with their guy, right? And this was Liam Cohen's first draft as the head coach of the Jaguars. So he wants to put his stamp on it. I just went back to Matthew Golden there, so never mind.
Another receiver.
Like at that point there, I would have taken either Bigsby or ETN as well. I would have just paired them up for that sake.
Yeah,
I would because we already know that Roach Motel's taken all the running backs.
So Rome Odunze went with the 3rd pick in round 7. What's your expectations for him? You have DJ Moore there. They drafted Luther Burden as well. You have the new offense. Johnson taking over, Ben Johnson taking over. Could be pass heavy at times. Do you like Rome Odunze for a possible breakout season?
I do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how much of a college football guy are you? Like, I study the guys once I know what their landing spots are, because frankly, college statistics don't mean anything to me. And how many times have we seen a guy excel in college and suck in the NFL? Right. I mean, if I have to, I would spar with Corey Davis truthers, till the cows came home. Right. Stop telling me what he did in college. It doesn't matter. So, I don't really understand what the heavy love so much is for Luther Burden, in the sense that, is that the coach putting his stamp on the offense, and does he think that maybe he's, better than what Rome Odunze is, or that maybe the DJ Moore is not long for working with the Bears. I don't know what the situation is, but as it stands right now, I mean, I think Odunze has a lot of upside for him, being a good, strong downfield threat, stretch the field vertically.
So I watched a lot of Luther Burden because I'm a Mizzou fan. My son's going there next year, and I felt like he was a player that didn't live up to his potential. Super talented, but the stats weren't always there for him. It seemed like he took plays off at times as well. I just wonder how that's going to play in the NFL. So he's super talented, but I'm just not sure he's going to jump in and make a monster impact. So because of that, I still have some hope for Odunze to have a big season there this year. So you just saw in the chat there, Howard, Brent Campbell, our favorite name, he took Charbonnet in round 8. He had Kenneth Walker in the 3rd round. So he is loaded up on receivers and running backs. I kind of like his build at this point, though. I mean, you get Tony Pollard in round 6, 1,000-yard back, a starter in that offense. He has Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Cortland Sutton. That might be my favorite build at this point.
I mean, he's got 3 number 1 wide receivers in their offense, right? He's got 3 of the main guys. He's got Juwan Jennings, who, I mean, I believe everybody's kind of profiling him as being, that guy that even when Brandon Ayuk is back, that he's going to be on the field a lot more and getting a lot of the work, especially working out of the slot. So I think that's a great move. Charbonnet, it's funny. He typed in that he couldn't wait any longer for Charbonnet. And I agree. I mean, I'm doing a lot of these, these 10-team best balls in the Beat Bender format, 30% filled, by the way. How sick is that? But I've been taking Charbonnet in the 9th or 10th round, depending on where I am drafting. So, it completely makes sense to me for him to, make that handcuff move right now. It's a solid investment in a great running scheme. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, and that's where ADP comes in handy in watching drafts like this to get a feel for where these running backs go and where you're going to need to get them. Again, it's not a ranking, but it gives you a good guide on where they're getting drafted. And so when it helps you to draft accordingly when you want to target these players and when to get them. So again, that's a great reason why using the ADP is smart when it comes to drafting here, and also watching these drafts to get a feel for where they go, because every draft's different, but the ADP gives you a pretty good guide there on where players go. Cam Scatterbu goes there, last pick in round 8, then ETN. So the Mongoose team waited on running back, got Chase Brown in the 3rd round, didn't take another running back till round 8, got Scatterbu and then ETN. So I like ETN. I'm kind of worried on Scatterbu a little bit. I just think I think he has he could be okay, but I just don't see him being a workhorse back and getting a huge load with Tyron Tracy there. I think he's a good receiving back, and he showed well between the tackles later in the season. So I just don't know if I have huge expectations for Scatterbu in New York. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I don't have huge expectations for him either. I know everybody's kind of hoping that it's like that Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw, Thunder and Lightning kind of a situation, but I'm not too sure about that. Again, I don't necessarily love relying on Scatterbu, ETN being my RB2, but
yeah,
that could just be me. Can I ask you a question here? But can I ask you a tight end question?
Shoot, go for it.
How does TJ Hawkinson go before Travis Kelce?
Yeah, I don't get that either. I still am a Kelce believer. I know some people think he could tail off a little bit this year, but man, he just keeps getting it done. He just racks up the targets. I felt like they did a good job last year of giving him more time off as well to keep him fresh. I think that was advantageous for him, especially late in the season and during the playoffs. So, I mean, he's still a top 5 tight end in my opinion. I'm still pretty bullish on Kelce.
I agree. And Taylor Swift showed up at Tight End University the other day, and she played "Shake It Off."
She did. She played "Shake It Off" with somebody else's guitar, and I mean, kudos to her for doing that.
Right, hanging out in Tight End University. I love it.
It's craziness. Yeah. So ETN goes start around 9, then J.K. Dobbins, Jordan Mason, Michael Pittman, Bo Nix, Mark Andrews, Mecca Buka, Jaden Reed, Jacoby Myers, Tajay Spears. So you got Jordan Mason going as the 3rd back in round 9 to that Chris's team there. Jordan Mason, interesting. That's when it's getting kind of thin at running back when you see him getting picked.
They are. I mean, they're talking about, oh, look at that. There's the Tank Bigsby pick space race. My dude or dudette. I don't know, but I like that move. That's a smart one for sure. Mason's the interesting one because I don't think a lot of people love, Aaron Jones is a very polarizing player, right? You either love him or you hate him.
Yep.
Right. You're either going to tell me that he's old and he's always injured, or you're going to tell me that he's a phenomenal value where he's going at ADP. I think Jordan Mason is going. People look at Jordan Mason like they're looking at Zach Charbonnet, like they're looking at a certain. Oh yeah, Isaac Guerendo right there. Went with that. I think Guerendo, Mason, Dobbins, and Charbonnet are probably, those are 4 of my favorite handcuffs. And I'll take that. I'll always handcuff with those guys if I have their lead back. But for the same token, if I'm looking for some running back depth, those are the handcuffs that I will definitely steal.
So let's talk about the opposite end of things. We always talk about players we like and whatnot, but maybe how about some stay away players for you? Is there anybody this year you're looking at that's been drafted already, at least, that you're kind of like, I don't want any shares of this guy. I just don't. Maybe it's because of the price tag, maybe the offense, the new coach, whatever. Is there any players that you're kind of, just kind of shying away from at this point?
Jeff, you want me to get negative?
Yeah, get negative.
Yeah, yes. All right. I can definitely do that. I crap on anybody. All right, here we go. Let's start it rolling here. And I'll just, you hold your hand up when I need to stop, right? Give me like a little wave or something like that. But Brock Bowers, way too early. I'm not going to take a tight end in the second round. I think Ladd McConkey's ADP is a little too high as well. I do love him. But one of the things that we know about Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh is, how much they want to run the football, and they'll happily go pass heavy if they don't have a healthy backfield, which Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, like that's what it was. But now you've got Najee and Amari and Hampton. So I don't necessarily know if you're going to see that reliance as heavily on Ladd McConkey, working out of the slot. I think he's definitely going to be a go-to guy and a nice little security blanket. But, I mean, when Keenan Allen was at his height, was he a second-round pick? No, he wasn't. So I kind of comp it that way. Josh Allen is not my number one quarterback. I cannot sit there and bank on the rushing touchdowns for him. And truth be told, if you take away half of those rushing touchdowns, is he any better or any different than Bo Nix? Doesn't have an alpha receiver, doesn't have the ability to lean on one guy in particular. It's just interchangeable cogs in the machine. So I don't like that. Did I go on my Alvin Kamara rant with you already last week?
I don't know if you did go on the Alvin Kamara rant with me.
Well, I love Alvin Kamara. I love the player, but he's never had a 1,000-yard rushing season. He's always been a big pass catching running back. And if you track what Kellen Moore has done at every stop, right? Tony Pollard never got enough targets out of that backfield. He took a career year of Austin Eckler and he wiped his tush with it and didn't pass him the football either. Then he goes to the Eagles where he gets Saquon Barkley, who is super awesome, right? Yeah. Barkley's the ideal back for a Kellen Moore system because he likes the power run. Barkley had 53 targets last year. That was the fewest that he's seen in any season whatsoever. So the question that is, what are they going to do? Is Alvin Kamara, what kind of targets is he going to see? And if he's not going to see the same targets that we're used to him seeing, fall in his lap, is he going to be able to get the job done on the ground and kind of rack up some yardage? And I worry about that.
No, I think that's a fair point. I thought the same thing when Kellen Moore took over. I was really worried about Kamara because of that. The only thing that gives me some hope is that I think the offense is really bad around him, so maybe he'll get more carries. Like you said, though, he's never been a 1,000-yard rusher, but I think he's clearly the best offensive player on that team. That's the only reason that I have some hope there. But you're right, though. It's definitely not going to be the same situation where he's racking up the catches. I mean, in the past, he's caught 90-plus passes at times throughout his career, and that's not going to happen with Kellen Moore.
Yeah. Well, was it like 3 straight years, 81 receptions? Everybody's laughing. Yep. You couldn't get any more consistent. So, I mean, there you go. That's 4 or 5 guys right there, and I didn't even get halfway through round 3.
No, I like it though. Great stuff. Great material, Howard. I appreciate it. So you got the fourth team there, Roach Motel. He just took his second QB already, and several teams do not have one. I guess 1, 2, 3 teams do not have a quarterback yet. He took Kyler Murray and had Josh Allen. See, so if I'm spending a 3rd-round pick on Allen, I can't use the draft capital on Kyler Murray in round 11, but I just don't see it personally.
You know what? I mean, I wouldn't have done it either. Like for me, I'm with you on that. If I'm taking Josh Allen, I'm probably not taking anybody until like Matthew Stafford like round 15 or whatever it is. Our boy Victor Swenson keeps pounding the drum for Jared Goff, which I can admire there. But I mean, I would, I don't necessarily know if I wouldn't. I will say this though about Roach Motel: Cooper Kupp, Michael Pittman, Keon Coleman. I mean, if you're going to not draft any wide receivers really until right round 8, I think he did well for himself in building his receiving core.
I agree. Pittman's one guy I want to keep an eye on this training camp because he is dirt cheap, and you hate back injuries. You've mentioned it before. You ever hear somebody say, their back's better now? I totally agree with that. But I just think for the price tag and what he's done in the past, if he's in training camp and he looks healthy, I think that could end up being a steal. But definitely some question marks there. But I like getting him as that late as a third receiver.
It's a huge value. It's a huge value, especially because he is the number one. And with everything pointing towards Daniel Jones being the leader of the QB room right now, that kind of that intrigues me more about Michael Pittman. I'll bet you this is probably like the lowest you'll see Pittman go the closer we get to the season.
Yep. And intriguing to me, I kind of was talking about him earlier with someone, and I can't remember who or what context, whatever. But Tyler Warren ended up going ahead of Colston Loveland in this draft. So if you look at most so-called draft experts before the NFL draft, most people had Warren ahead of Loveland. So I'm kind of intrigued by him. You can get him pretty late. We just talked about the Colts could have Daniel Jones as the QB, which probably would be a positive for their pass catchers. What's your thoughts on Warren for this coming year?
I like him. Right? I mean, what I like about him is that he's that everything tight end. He's the guy who can stay on the field. He'll do the blocking, but he's also going to be utilized more in the passing game as well. It's something that the Colts have really lacked over the last several years. Loveland is a pass catching tight end. You don't want Loveland doing the blocking for you. And so with the shoulder issue with him, with the competition for targets, you're still going to have Cole Kmet who's going to start stealing some snaps because he's going to be on the field doing a lot of the blocking. I understand why you would take Warren before Loveland. I have shares of both of them, in several drafts, but yeah, I like the Tyler Warren move over here, especially because he's his top tight end.
Yeah, I'm really starting to come around to Warren a little bit as we get closer to the start of the season. So the Space Race team is sticking with the running back and receiver build for his team. Still doesn't have a tight end. He's just loading up on dart throw running backs at this point. He got Bigsby, Garriendo, Nick Chubb, and Marshawn Lloyd to go with Jadon Blue and Tootin. Interesting build for him. But I mean, if you're going to wait, I think, really loading up like that on that position might be the best option to at least hope one hits, I guess. One or two.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like if you're gonna go so wide receiver heavy, I mean, you're gonna have to throw some darts there. And I mean, everybody that he's got has, strong potential, right? Jadon Blue, if he ends up with that job by the end of the year. Same with Bashaw Tootin. Tank Bigsby helps him, with 2/3 of that Jacksonville ground game. If McCaffrey gets hurt, it's Garriendo to the moon.
Yep.
Like that's a huge pickup. Nick Chubb, if he becomes that lead back because Mixon's ankle is a little sketchy, then there you go. And then Marshawn Lloyd as the primary handcuff to Josh Jacobs. I mean, I think, you're going to have guys like Bigsby and Chubb will be usable to start the season because they will see snaps and carries. But by the season end, I think, he could end up with Blue and Garriendo as being like his top two running backs.
Yeah, and who would have thought that at the beginning of the season when everything gets going? So it'll be interesting to see how that team plays out. So Justin Fields is the number one QB for distant first. He took his QB in round 12. I like the potential of Fields, but I don't know if I can go into a season with him as my number one. I'd probably get a backup sooner than later if I was him personally.
I mean, there are definitely, he's probably one of the last of the mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So you grab them, and then, if you pair them up like you and I did, right? When we talked about that yin yang strategy, you take a pocket passer and you pair him up with the mobile guy, so that you have the best of both worlds, and you can kind of figure it out from there. So I think grabbing Justin Fields based on, did you just pull up? Yeah, you just pulled up who the remaining quarterbacks are. And I mean, listen, I'll count it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, maybe 10 even, that I'd be interested in still drafting there. So still plenty of room to get your second QB.
Yeah, it definitely shows you how deep that position is. There's definitely some guys you can get later that could end up really outperforming their ADP. So Howard, getting near the end of our time here, let's take a look at some of these team builds. We always like to do this before we get out of here. I actually have my favorite team already, and I talked about him earlier, but the Brent Campbell team of Puber Gooding Jr., I think he did really well. He got Andrews in round 9 as his number 1 tight end. I just think that's great value. I would definitely try to find a decent backup, with the possible injury concerns with him. But, man, I love his receivers. I think he has good running backs, 3,000-yard rushers, number 1 receivers, 3 number 1 receivers, a good tight end, a really good QB in Dak Prescott as well. I talked about that earlier, where I think he's just going to get tons of chances to air it out. So I think that team is my favorite at this point of the draft. What say you?
I mean, yeah, that's probably pretty close to my favorite as well. I got to shout out Joe Bradshaw's Running Rebels. I think this is a great group also, right? The wide receiver core is top notch with CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Godwin. Debo's packed on the pounds a little bit too much lately. We'll have to see if he slims down and gets the work. But I love Bo Nix, and I like Tyler Warren. And I mean, look at the running back room there, right? Breece Hall, love him. Kamara, we'll see, but still Alvin Kamara. Pacheco is the lead back in Kansas City. Najee's going to share the workload there in a very run-heavy scheme. So, I mean, I definitely like Joe Bradshaw's build as well. I definitely
right next to each other. So he had Bradshaw had the 6th pick and Campbell the 7th pick there. So again, you can win drafting at any spot in the draft. I've run the numbers in the past of league winners on our site. So I think everybody has their preference though, where they like to pick. I think you mentioned last week, I asked you that question, like pick near the end of the round, if I'm not mistaken, Howard. That's where your kind of sweet spot is.
I just want to be on the outside.
Okay.
That's where I want to be. I want to be on the outside and less in the middle. I mean, these guys did a great job in the middle for sure.
Yep.
I just have liked my builds on the outside, just a little bit better there. Just a little bit better. Like I would have loved Mongooses at 1, right? You take Jamar Chase. I'm not loving McConkey as much, but Chase Brown, George Kittle, what I probably would have done was I probably would have taken like RJ Harvey instead of Xavier Worthy. Like that's, that if I were on the end, I would have done that. And then you look at the rest of this group and I don't see why, why not? I like Mahomes this year. I think David Njoku is a fantastic asset, especially if you're going to have like Joe Flacco under center throwing the football.
I absolutely love Mahomes this year for the value. I think he's going to really outperform where he's getting drafted at this point. I mean, he's got Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, hopefully healthy for an entire season. Hopefully that line is blocking better for him as well. And we talked about distant first taking Justin Fields, and I think he did a fantastic job. He got Herbert there on the back.
Very well done.
Round 13.
Very well done.
Yeah,
that's a great team too, right?
It is.
Bowers, Higgins, Evans, Flowers.
Yep.
I mean, how funny is it that T. Higgins goes ahead of Mike Evans?
Yeah,
by a full round.
Yep. All Mike Evans does is get 1,000 yards and 10 double-digit touchdowns every season.
Right. Suncoast build, I kind of like that. I mean, Nabers, Collins, JSN, and then Jaden Daniels, bing, bang, boom, right there. That's, that's beautiful to look at. And then, Swift and Jones are lead backs in their system. They could see some decent volume. And then, I love Evan Engram. So I'm going to shout out Suncoast as well.
Yeah. Big Ralph Shivan. He had those 3 receivers all could get 100+ catches. And he has those as his first 3 picks. And I know I've drafted with him before, and he's been a loyal user on our side. I know he loves that receiver position, so not surprised at all that
What's that logo? Is that like his daughter, sister?
He always has. If you're in a draft with him, I think he picks out a different pinup every draft, so you'll see a different.
Oh, he's trying to like distract you. He's
I think so. I think he tries to,
Let me get everybody to inappropriately touch themselves during this draft, and then I'll sneak in with all the great picks.
Exactly. All right, Howard. On that note, we're gonna. Let's see. Let me see what Space Race did before we get out of here. So he took Trevor Lawrence as his number 1 QB, and then Mason Taylor as his number 1 tight end. Interesting.
I love that pick.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not
Taylor.
huge on Trevor Lawrence, although I'll tell you, if Liam Cohen can turn Trevor Lawrence into this year's Baker Mayfield, I think we're all pretty psyched about that. Mason Taylor, I mean, who else is catching passes in the Jets?
No, it's true.
Who else is doing it? You've got Garrett Wilson and nobody.
And I mean, Ty Conklin last year was usable at times when he had that starting role. So got a guy that's a lot more talented than him in there now. Interesting. All right. So that's what Space Coast did. All right, Howard. Fun as always. Again, if you want to get in one of these Fantasy Life Championship drafts, go to rtsports.com. Click on that Money League link. This draft for next week is already up. So if you want to sign up, hear Howard and I break it down on the YouTube channel here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, we will do that next week. Get in that right now. Howard, thanks so much for joining me. Always fun talking with you. We'll see you next week.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks to everybody out there for watching the Fantasy Life Championship live stream event here on RealTime Fantasy Sports. Really appreciate it. Get in the league today at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Go to rtsports.com. Have a great night, everyone.